What's up? We're here to talk about some college basketball and talk about the depression that is Gonzaga and Baylor being canceled.
And a lot of other Big 12 or Big 10 ACC challenge games.
But mainly Gonzaga-Baylor. That
Yeah.
sucks. Yeah. I saw Baylor was 4-0 and number 2, and I'm like, oh, wait, did they beat Gonzaga? Wait, why are they still number 2 then? And then I looked and it said Gonzaga was scrapped. I literally just found out about that. I haven't been paying attention to college basketball as much early on. I'm waiting for them to get into the actual conference games, as well as I watched the Big 10 ACC championship and challenge, and that's heartbreaking because that's such a fun game that just got scrapped.
What did we go over? I forget. When did we last record? Because I can't remember all the games.
It was a while.
It was on Wednesday. Okay, yeah. So anything past Wednesday. All right.
Yeah, so we watched Baylor. We watched Baylor beat Illinois. Some of the big ones was Baylor beating Illinois because that was going on while we were streaming. I'm just gonna recap some of the big ones. Gonzaga obviously beating West Virginia. Texas beating North Carolina
with that crazy upset over Wisconsin.
I was about to say there's been a lot of upsets, and that's early college basketball in general. That's early college basketball in general, but especially early college basketball with COVID, because these guys haven't had much time to play. I'm just scrolling through seeing some of these. Arizona.
They barely beat Detroit. What the heck?
Yeah, no. Michigan State barely beating Detroit. Mercy. Virginia having to go to overtime to pull away from Kent State after Kent State hits a game-tying buzzer beater. That one was pretty crazy.
Oh, I didn't see that. I didn't see anything on Friday. Holy cow.
Yeah. But then now we get to the kind of the big games, the Big Ten East. First off, another two quick ones. Villanova beating Texas.
That was a good game. I did watch a decent amount of that. Oh wow, Georgia Texas.
I was about to say, and the big one. Kentucky's never looked good at the beginning of the years, but getting smoked 62-79 against Georgia Tech. That's not good, dude. That's not good.
What? Oh, wow, that's bad. Oh,
but then we go into Tuesday, the Big Ten ACC Challenge. A couple games were called off. I know Michigan, NC State was called off.
That was today.
But
in lieu of NC State, Virginia, all three of them were called off for today.
Let's recap the big ones. Iowa, just absolutely just torching North Carolina. I mean, not completely. It was only a 13-point victory, but still, Iowa was cooking against North Carolina, dropping them to 2 losses now.
I mean, they played really well throughout the entire game. I mean, I was watching a good amount of that. Iowa shooting. I mean, their offense is very, very loaded. They have a crap ton of offense, and that's when it gets really hard to shut down someone like Iowa, because they're so good offensively. It's just so hard to stop. I mean, North Carolina, they did make a comeback. They even had the lead with like 10 minutes to go in the second half, but Iowa's offense began to go off again, and North Carolina just couldn't stop it. It ended up being 93-80 as a final. So, very good performance by the Hawkeyes.
Real quick,
looked like maybe they're a top 5 team.
Actually, we thought they were ranked, but
I mean, they're number 3. It's a little high. I don't know. They did look very good.
They're a top 10 team. They're a top 10 team.
For sure, they're a top 10 team. So it's still hard for me to believe they're number 3, but
yeah. Real quick, we're gonna move away from the ACC Big Ten Challenge for just a moment because I want to talk about the Kansas number 5 Kansas versus number 8 Creighton. That was a good game all the way to the end. Kansas
just had to make the free throw.
Kansas barely slipping by Creighton due to some late game free throw mishaps.
You had to make the. You see the video where the kid's mom was watching, but just basically was hiding her face. Didn't want to even watch it. She was just
man. But yeah, that was a good game all the way to the end. Both teams look really good. Both teams definitely look very good. This next one. This one surprised me. Illinois absolutely just demolishing Duke. Just told Duke, move out the way. I don't know much about Duke this year, but they're still Duke. It's still Coach K, and Illinois came out there and was just like, nuh-uh, not today. We don't care that you're Duke. We don't care that you're a blue blood. Get out of here. Go home. Actually, they were home.
Illinois controlled that entire game right from the beginning. It was just they absolutely demolished Duke, and it was really really impressive for Illinois. And even the whole team themselves, it was a very very balanced attack. No one person really stood out. I mean, I would assume we had 18, but then there was someone scored 13, someone scored 12, 11, 10, 10, 9. I mean, everybody contributed. It was a very impressive game from the entire team, and that is a very, very hard thing to shut down. I mean, obviously, Io DeSumo and Kofi Cockburn are really the two big players for Illinois, and I think that Miller guy, too. He looked pretty impressive against Duke. I saw him play. I was pretty impressed by him, but the entire Illinois team just collectively was very, very good, and that's what makes you a really good team, when your entire team just plays at a very high level.
100%.
As
Wow.
I don't really know that much about, like you said, I don't know a whole lot about Duke either, but
It's Duke.
Matthew Hurt, I do know him, and yeah, he was bad. He was 0-6 from 3. 0-6 from
Can't
3.
do that. Can't do that.
That's woeful. I mean, they also have that Jalen Johnson kid. I mean, I think he's a decent player, but he was 3 of 10 in that game. So really for Duke, it was just the big players did not play well. I mean, even Goldwire, another big guy for Duke, he's been around for a decent amount of time. 2 of 9, 0-3 from 3. They could not throw the ball in the ocean. They were 5 of 22 from 3. They just could not shoot the ball in that game. They were missing shots left and right. They shot 40% compared to Illinois' 58. So if that gives you any idea of how that game went for both sides.
Wow, this next game, Penn State, holy crap, smoked number 15 Virginia. And look at this, both of the times, Illinois smoked Duke. I mean, okay, I know home court is like not really too existent, but still, you're going into a different stadium across the country. Not technically across the country. You're going to a different state, a different arena, different colors, different feel to it. There's still a little bit of factors every now and again to come into it, and they just came out and like lit up Virginia Tech, especially in the first half, pouring on 42 points during the first half. That's insane as they blow them out 75-55.
They were up by 30 in that game. They were actually up by 30, which that's
not good. If you're Virginia
Penn
Tech.
State looked pretty. I'm telling you, man, Big Ten is gonna be absolutely. It's gonna be absolute crazy.
It's a bloodbath.
Home field advantage. So literally every single game that any one of these teams are gonna play, including us, but any of us, anyone in the Big Ten, it's gonna be an absolute dogfight.
It's a bloodbath.
Every single game will be an absolute dogfight. It'll be competitive. It will be absolute chaos in the Big Ten, and it's gonna be so much fun to watch.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the only two teams that would be like easy victories are going to be like Nebraska and Northwestern, right? Everybody else is like actually somewhat decent. Talking about
State, like probably the worst team outside of those two, and well, they just demolished Virginia Tech, so I wouldn't be so sure.
Mm-hmm.
And
then,
of course, another game earlier, Ohio State and Notre Dame. That was a really close game.
Yeah, I don't care. Moving on.
Buckeye, I mean, we're Michigan fans.
I don't care. No, just kidding.
You don't like either one of those teams, honestly. No one here likes Notre Dame, and really no one here obviously likes Ohio State. But I mean,
good game.
That was actually a really stinking good game. I watched a decent amount of that. I paid more attention to Iowa, North Carolina, and Illinois, Duke when that came on. But That was a really close game. Both of those teams look like they have some decent talent. Of course, Ohio State's in the Big Ten, so they're going to have a hard time. But Duke didn't look too bad either.
No.
They played Michigan State earlier in the year and just got absolutely destroyed. But they looked a lot better against Ohio State. And
You mean Notre Dame?
I think Notre Dame could maybe just sneak into the NCAA tournament.
You called Notre Dame Duke. I thought you were straight up talking about Duke for a second, because Duke also played Michigan State and got their butts kicked. I'm like, wait, how did the conversation transition back to Duke? Wait, hold on, you lost me for a second. Oh God, you did. You said, and Duke, another team that played Michigan State earlier on. I'm like, when did we get back to talking about Duke? Another game that was really that there was a lot closer than the final score we'll give it credit for was Syracuse and Rutgers. Syracuse and Rutgers was a very close game for the majority of the game. It was that was the one I watched. Obviously, I'm a Syracuse fan at heart, so I watched that game. It was neck and neck for the most part. I mean, obviously Rutgers pulled away at the end and won by 10, but it was a bloodbath for the whole way through. And I think Syracuse at least has a decent team this year. I don't think they're amazing, but I think they're good enough to at least make the tournament, which will be nice to see. Because we all know, no matter how good or bad that Syracuse team is, if they make the tournament, they can make a run. Good old 10-seeded Syracuse back in 2016, or even 2018, I think it was, beating Michigan State in Detroit. Like, come on. Come on, Spartans. How do you let that happen? But that was all the games from yesterday, and the games today, there was not...
Honestly, I was really impressed by Rutgers and Syracuse.
No, yes,
like you
both
said,
of them.
They both looked very, very good. But what really stood out to me was the player that I really like Rutgers, and that's I thought his name was Ron Baker. I was mistaken. It was Ron Harper. He is a very, very talented player. He's so far this season, he's averaging about 23 points a game, 22. So I really like this kid. I watched him play last year, and he made some really, really. Huh?
Continue.
I watched Ron Harper last year play, and I saw the kid make some absolutely insane shots. He played. He looked like an outstanding player. Played at a very high level, so I'm really excited to see how he looks for the rest of this season. And I don't know, he was only a junior this year, so maybe he plays next year too.
It's Ron Harper Jr. That's where I do that. It's Ron Harper's kid, the Ron Harper of the Chicago Bulls that helped lead him. I think it was the second half of the three-peat.
Oh,
was the Ron Harper era? Because I was about to say I heard Ron Harper, and I'm like, I know that name from somewhere. I knew he was on the Bulls. I know he won championships with them. I think it was championships 4, 5, and 6. But I was like, Ron Harper, why does that name sound so familiar? He's an NBA player. And then the games for today, Baylor absolutely smoking Stephen F. Austin. Wow, I'm mind blown. Okay. Wisconsin actually in a pretty tough close affair with Rhode Island, though Rhode Island is no one to really scoff at. Rhode Island
also always has like a decent middle of the road team. They're not something you like kind of wow at because they're all really good, but they always have like a decent team. They normally make the tournament and maybe make a little noise or maybe not. They're always a mediocre team.
Mm-hmm. And Richmond beating the Atlanta Falcons of the college basketball scope. Not really, but I just love picking on Northern Iowa for blowing that game a couple years back in March Madness against Texas A&M, where they were leading by like 13 points and let them come all the way back to win the game somehow. Alex Caruso was on that team, man. That was a while back. And then Florida State pulling away in a tough affair against Indiana. That was a fun one. Obviously in overtime.
Indiana blew that game. Florida State missed multiple times at the end of that game. I think it was regulation. And 3 times in a row, Florida State got the rebound, was able to hold on to the ball, and I think they got the shot in and then took the lead. But then, of course, Indiana scored again, tied it, and it went to overtime. But that was some awful, awful possessions by Indiana. You can't give Florida State that many opportunities off offensive rebounds. You gotta be better than that. But still, I think Indiana's got these. They always have decent players. Obviously, a huge basketball program. I'm expecting a decent amount out of Indiana, especially being this close with a pretty good Seminoles team.
Yeah. All right, and then obviously the upsetting one that got canceled was probably Michigan State, Virginia. That would have been a fun one, even though I think Michigan State would have easily pulled out of that one. I mean, at least it would have been semi-entertaining, I would have think. Michigan State looks good.
I mean, the only reason it would be kind of interesting is because the Hauser brothers would be against each other. That's about it.
Yeah. All right, so now I'm going to make you do the hard thing. I'm going to have you... we're going to do this each week. We're going to go over kind of the big games of the week of the past week. And then we're going to take a conference and make conference power rankings. So we're going to start with the Big Ten. I want to hear your Big Ten power rankings from number 1 to number 14.
All right. Well, let me pull up the Big Ten here.
Number one, Purdue. Number 2, Minnesota. Number 3, Nebraska. I'm just kidding. Number 14 is Michigan.
Like
Number 14 is Michigan
right.
State.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. Michigan State 14.
Ohio State 13. Anyone who's wronged Michigan, not even accounted for. Michigan number 1, 100%.
All right, but for real though, honestly, if I were to do the power rankings for the Big Ten, 1 through 3 honestly could be just about anybody. But if I had to choose like a 1, 2, and 3, I guess I'd put Illinois at number 1.
I was like, wait a minute.
Wrong team. Illinois, I would put at number 1 though. Outstanding squad. I mean, their only loss is Baylor, which is obviously an outstanding team. And that game was also close for a significant amount of time until the very end where Baylor pulled away. For number 2, I'd probably put Michigan State. Outstanding coach in Tom Izzo. Why did I say Mark D'Antonio?
You are all over the place tonight.
Yes, I am.
Oh boy.
Ay.
King K. Rool versus King K. Rool.
Yeah, I guess that's the kind of day I'm having today. But Tom Izzo, outstanding coach for Michigan State. As much as I hate to say that, but Spartans, I'd put at number 2, just a little below Illinois. Like I said, top 3 probably very interchangeable. Number 3, I'd put as Iowa. Been playing at a very high level so far this season. Really impressed, and I think they could probably ride that. Can't come up with the word. I think they can ride that hot streak throughout the season. Offense playing very well, so I'm curious to see how Iowa keeps playing throughout. Number 4, I think, is solidly Wisconsin. Top 3 are obviously the top tier of the Big Ten. I'd put Wisconsin basically right in the middle of like that middle tier, and then the top tier. They're right smack in the middle because they have some really good players, but then they have some moments against like Marquette where they kind of don't. I mean, they look okay, but they don't look absolutely overpowering. And that's where Wisconsin's weakness is. But I think Wisconsin's still a fantastic team. So I'd put them solidly at number 4. And the rest is going to be a little harder to pick. I guess for number 5, I would... let's see. Okay, yeah. I would probably go with Rutgers for number 5.
I think I'm going to do this alongside. I think I was going to do this. I was going to do this you, then me, but I think I should do it alongside you, actually. So I'll just let me catch up real quick. Okay. I'm gonna do this alongside you. I think that's how I'm gonna do it. We're still testing this format out. Number one, I'm not gonna have as good of explanations because I haven't been paying attention as much. But as far as what I've seen, number one, Illinois, 100%. Illinois just looks absolutely dominant. I absolutely am a fan, and I'm rooting for them. They look awesome. Number two, Michigan State. They beaten Duke. Probably would have beaten Virginia and destroyed Notre Dame. Michigan State's good as always. And number three, Iowa. They've had some big wins, but I still don't fully trust them just yet. They haven't had anything that has wowed me. Number four, I'd go the same with you, is Wisconsin. Have those moments that look bad, but for the most part, they're a really solid team. And then same thing again. The top five, I knew we were going to have the same. Probably top six will probably have the same too. Top five, Rutgers at number five. My win against Syracuse is a big one because Syracuse is actually a pretty decent team. Not amazing, but to go out there and get a win against a Power 5 opponent is always worthwhile. So, what's your number six?
But before I go to number six, Rutgers, outstanding team. They've looked very good this season. Like I said, I really like Ron Harper Jr. He's really stinking good. I think that's going to be a big key to Rutgers' success this season. For number six, it's probably between Ohio State and Michigan. I want to be a homer here, but no, you know what, Michigan. I'm going to go with the Wolverines here. I mean, it does sound like a bit of a homer pick, but really between 6 and 7, Ohio State, Michigan, either one of them could take either spot. It's really, really close. Outside of, because I don't really see anyone else on here that would really take the 6 or 7 spot, so really it'd be either Michigan or Ohio State for number
5
6
and
or 7.
Oh, okay.
Because both of these teams are
5 and 6.
Yeah.
5 and 6. 5 and 6. No, 6 and 7.
You're confusing me.
I forgot about Rutgers. I'm not used to Rutgers being at number 5.
But yeah, 6 and 7 could be either Michigan or Ohio State. Ohio State's they had some really good games. They've also had some not so special ones. Same with Michigan, especially for Michigan, that game against Oakland. That was awful. They still won, but that was really, really awful. That should not have been that close. For Ohio State, close contest against Notre Dame. I mean, they beat Morehead State, and I mean, they're a little closer with UMass Lowell. Of course, I know Michigan's games. They demolished Toledo. Looked really good against NCAAM. I like seeing that. That was really, really impressive. Handled Ball State well, had an offensive explosion against Bowling Green. And yeah, like I said, was not very good against Oakland, but still pulled it off. The next game for Michigan will be against Penn State, so kind of excited to see them.
That's going to be the big one. That's going to be huge because you know why? I'm going to be bold here. As far as the team that's impressed me more, I'm going to go Ohio State number 5. As far as the team that's impressed me more, number 6, I'm going to put, as of this moment, the team who's impressed me more is Penn State. I'm going to put Penn State just a notch above Michigan. I think Michigan has the higher ceiling than Penn State does, but I also think Michigan has a much lower floor. I think Penn State's a safe team, but Michigan has a very high ceiling and a very low floor. So right now, from what I've seen from them, I would put Penn State just a notch above Michigan. But obviously, we're going to find out which one of those two is better in their very next game. So I'm going to be excited to see that game. That'll be a huge one to start off Big Ten play for the Wolverines.
So we're on number
8
now.
So just to clarify, 6 for me is Ohio State, 7 is Penn State, 8 is Michigan. So you're number 8 now.
Yeah, so 8 for me. I would have gone with Maryland at this point, for sure. But after that blowout against Clemson, I'm not as impressed as I was early. But for number 8, I'd probably go Penn State, especially after that win against Virginia Tech. That was really, really impressive. I mean, their loss is Seton Hall in overtime. Seton Hall always has a pretty good basketball team.
It was close, too.
And yeah, it was an overtime game. It was 98-92, so it was really high scoring. So I don't really see that's not a bad loss to me for Penn State. Like I said, Seton Hall always has a decent team. They always have great players. So I don't necessarily see how that really hurts Penn State. And their other wins against VCU by 3, also another big basketball program that always seems to have great talent. So I'd put Penn State for sure at number 8.
Mm-hmm.
You want to start with 9, or you want?
I'll start number 9. I guess I'll just start them off with my pretty light talks. At number 9, I'd probably put Indiana, just a smidge over my number 10. I just put Indiana just a smidge over them. Indiana obviously had an impressive game where they honestly kind of blew it against Florida State, so a decently good Florida State team. So I give Indiana the slight nod at number 9.
I would say the same thing. Indiana, number 9. They seem to have a lot of talent, but they haven't hit that yet. Like you said, they blew that game against Florida State, which they very possibly could have had. Florida State's played pretty good. Wow, I really can't today. But Florida State, obviously a pretty good team. So I'll put Indiana number 9 just because they blew it when they had the shot. Yeah, you going number 10?
Yeah, so my number 10, just slightly, like I said, just slightly under Indiana is going to be Maryland. I think Maryland has again, same thing with kind of Michigan, Penn State. I think Maryland has a little bit of a higher ceiling in the long run than Indiana does. But at the same time, Maryland did just get blown out by Clemson. So I'm not as, like you said, I'm not as high on them as I was, but I'm still higher on them than I am the other 4 teams lower than them. So I'll give them the 10th spot there.
Yeah, I'm going the same thing. Maryland at 10. Basically the same thing as you. I was really high on them in the beginning of the year because Maryland obviously always has a great team. They have a big basketball program. So I expected a decent amount out of them, and then they laid an egg against Clemson. I'm like, oh, that doesn't look good. Especially since their next game is Rutgers. So
exactly. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna lie, these next 4 could kind of go.
There's only 3.
No, there's 4. There's 4. There's 14 teams. There's Minnesota, Northwestern, Purdue, and Nebraska left.
Shoot, I forgot about Minnesota.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, these last 4 teams could kind of be in any order. I'm probably gonna give 11 right now to Minnesota, considering the fact that they are 5-0, and that is pretty much the only reason I'm gonna give that to them. Again, these last couple ones could be kind of in any order, so I'm gonna give it to the 5-0 team at number 11.
I completely forgot about the Golden Gophers. Yeah, I'll put them at 11. As you said, they're now 5-0. They did not look great against Boston College. I saw a little bit of that game. They pulled off the win, but it wasn't very special. So I'll put them just a nod under Maryland. They had a disappointing loss. Who you got for 11?
I'm probably still gonna go with Northwestern for 11, considering everybody else has 2 losses. But game just went final. Pittsburgh beat Northwestern by 1 point, 71-70. Game just went final. So Northwestern with its first loss on the season, but I still think, I don't know. Right now, as far as power rankings go, I'll give it to them. But again, these 4 teams can kind of be in any order in the bottom 4.
For me, the is 12. This is 12, right?
12, yes, 12.
For 12, I think it's for sure Purdue. Purdue has some really good talent, but they've just absolutely not. They haven't played like it. Mm-hmm. Purdue is a big basketball program. I think they're just significantly underperforming. I mean, they don't really have the same players that they used to a couple years back. But I still think this is a better team than what it looks right now. I mean, they beat Oakland by 43. They absolutely murdered them. And they struggled against Valparaiso, close game against Miami, Florida. They were competitive with Clemson for a while, but fell off at the end. Couldn't pull it off. Clemson, I think, has got a decent team, but I'll definitely put Purdue at 11.
Or
They
12.
have some decent players, but they just haven't seemed to hit the actual talent that they have.
Fair enough. And that being said, number 13 for me is going to be Purdue. I have a feeling I know who you're going to put at 13. I have a feeling we're both going to have the same number 14. Purdue, obviously, that Oakland win is a huge one. Obviously hanging tight in a couple close games. So, honestly, I'm excited to see how this Purdue team does when they get to Big Ten play. So who's your number 13?
I mean, Northwestern losing the Pitt is a little disappointing, but it doesn't really change my number 13. It's still gonna be Northwestern. I mean, they're not great, they're not special, but they're 100% better than Nebraska. They're going to beat Nebraska. Nebraska's just they're awful.
Guess what our number 14 is, guys? The Nebraska. I just got blown. They didn't get blown out the water, but they got beat up by Georgia Tech at home. Which, honestly, I guess who knows? Either Kentucky is really bad or Georgia Tech is outstanding. But either way, Nebraska easily the 14th spot for me.
Yeah, like same thing for me. Georgia Tech, or not Georgia Tech, Nebraska at the 14th spot. They're bad. You lost to Georgia Tech, who lost to both Georgia State and Mercer. Yeah. But somehow beat Kentucky, and then they beat you. So I don't know.
I don't know, man.
Nebraska's just bad. They're not a great basketball team, and especially in the conference this good, they're definitely the worst. They go at 4.
But that's it for college basketball. Catch us some later for some other. Obviously, we're dropping videos pretty much every week. We still don't have a defined schedule yet, depending on how we're going to do our videos. Coming into the future, we might start doing this where we start breaking it up once we only have a couple leagues going. We might break it up and do some multiple smaller NBA videos so we can release them maybe every couple days or something. I don't know. We're kind of working on formats as we go, kind of rolling with it. Right now, we're still going with the 4 major sports that are on. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and we will catch you next time.